Woman walks her son to school. Someone throws a drink at her car. Woman goes to work at the store. Someone throws merchandise right at her. He claims to be Robbie's friend, then claims to be his daughter's abuser. At Mill's worried look, the man then denied it. But it was the look in his eyes, the look that killed him, that made Mill furious. It was only then that a customer arrived at the store to defuse the potential for bloodshed. It was Robbie's wife. She brought a letter her husband had left for Mill. Mill's billboard had indirectly killed Robbie, and Robbie's letter had indirectly saved Mill's life. Robbie wrote in the letter, "I'm sorry that your daughter's killer died before we could catch him. I'm heartbroken, but that's the way it is with some cases. We can't do anything about it. Maybe in a few years, when some guy is bragging about his crime in a bar or a jail cell, this kind of unsolved crime will be solved. And I hope with all my heart that your daughter's case is solved too." Robbie then praises Mill's billboard and reveals that it donated the money for the advertisement. Seeing this, Mill smiled softly. She then realized that the anonymous donor was Sheriff Robbie.
So good luck with all that, and good luck with everything else too. I hope and I pray that you get him.
Everyone thought Mill's billboard had killed the sheriff, but only the sheriff knew that the billboard was not aimed at him. When Mill picked up her son that night, she found 3 of her billboards ablaze. She rushed to put out the fire like a madwoman, but the car fire extinguisher was just a drop in the bucket for the blaze. She grabbed the fire extinguisher from her son. Her son tried to stop her, but she didn't listen. She snatched the fire extinguisher from her son's hand and continued to walk in the direction of the billboards without looking back. These 3 billboards were the only thing she could do for her daughter, but the fire burned away all her hopes. Mill was sick, laughing and crying and laughing. As night fell, the woman put on a black dress and brought the flask to the opposite side of the police station. After calling to make sure no one was inside, she threw out the bottle. But to Mill's surprise, Dixon was in the police station. Robbie also left him a letter. He always believed Dixon would be a good cop. He was listening to the manic heavy metal music while reading the letter in his hand, completely unaware of the flames behind him. It wasn't until the last Molotov cocktail that Mill threw knocked him down that he snapped back in his daze. He turned to run, but his eyes happened to land on the sheriff's desk, where Mill's daughter's file was located. Without hesitation, he swoops the file into his arms and leaps out of the fire. The first thing he did after escaping the fire was to throw the file in his arms into the distance. Fortunately, the town John happened to pass by, so he was lucky to get his life back. Mill didn't realize that there was someone in the police station looking at his daughter's file on the ground. Mill's heart was full of mixed feelings. The fire burned until dawn. John perjured himself and saved Mill from jail. John told the new sheriff that he had been with Mill all night and had stopped by the station on his way home.
You two boyfriend or girlfriend? Early stages, you know? Is that right?
We had a couple dates.
The fire burned out everyone's strength. John, whom Mill had always resented, became the first person to show her kindness. Dixon, badly burned, meets the ad agency owner he beat up. They became cellmates in the same ward.
Hey man, you doing okay? You got burned up pretty bad, huh? I'm gonna be okay though. You want a glass of orange juice? You got a straw somewhere?
I'm sorry, Wilby.
You know me?
I'm sorry.
Sorry for what?
Throwing you out the window. I'm sorry, man.
I don't care. Stop fucking crying, god damn it. This salt will just fuck up your wounds.
I thought salt was supposed to be good for your wound.
What am I, fucking doctor?
Although the boss was very angry, he quickly calmed down. Instead of continuing to complain, he limped around pouring a glass of orange juice and then thoughtfully turned the straw toward him. The advertising agency provided Mill with a new billboard. John carefully held the letter for her from the sidelines. The employee asked her if she still wanted to put Robbie's name on it. Mill chose to keep it up. This time she did it not only for her daughter, but also for Sheriff Robbie. Afterwards, Mill said yes to John's invitation to have dinner with him. She ran into her ex-husband and his 19-year-old girlfriend. The ex-husband comes up to her and apologizes for setting the billboard on fire. The words were still flirty, but the apology came from his heart. After calming down, Mill picks up her drink and slowly walks towards her ex-husband's table. Rather than get angry, she gently put the wine down and told her husband that,
Be nice to her, Charlie. You got that?
Shortly thereafter, Dixon was discharged from the hospital. While drinking in a bar, he overheard someone bragging about a case he committed, describing it exactly like Mill's daughter's. This man is the same man who terrorized Mill in the store. Dixon is not as reckless as he used to be, so he silently walks outside the store, writes down the man's license plate number, and then pretends to be a drunken fool and intentionally scratches the man's face. Unsurprisingly, he was hit hard by the man. He braced himself for the pain and went home quickly, carefully picking out the remaining dandruff from his fingernail crevices. Obtaining the man's DNA was his real goal. He told Mill the news and at the same time gave Mill hope. Tragically, the DNA match didn't turn out as well as he'd hoped. The sheriff told Dixon that the man was out of the country at the time of the murder. He checked the man's travel records and talked to his commanding officers, who had nothing to do with Mill's daughter's death. Dixon asks what country the man was in at the time, but the sheriff says it's classified. But it does give a hint. There's a lot of desert in that country. By this point, Dixon has his answer. Lost in thought, he tosses the badge back to the sheriff and gets up to leave in silence. He didn't know what Sheriff Robbie had killed himself for, whether it was Kaz Rory's family, or maybe it was the guilt of being in a position of power and not being able to do anything about it. But one thing was for sure, the man had committed the same crime. With that in mind, Dixon dials Mill and tells him the results. At the same time, he hinted that he knew the license plate number of the man's car and also found out the man's address. The next day, the two of them took their weapons and equipment and set out on a journey to Idaho. Revenge or not, punishment or not, it didn't matter what the answer was. After all, some justice needs to be done.
Hey, Dixon.
Yeah.
I need to tell you something. It was me that burned down the police station.
Well, who the hell else would have been?
This is the last part of the 2017 American crime movie, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. The sheriff's death has caused everyone in the town to turn on the woman, and some have even come to her place of work to pick on her. But after the sheriff's wife shows her the sheriff's suicide note, she begins to feel relief, and the double towards the sheriff fades away. But on her way back, she realized that her billboard had been burned, and she once again pointed her finger at the police station. She throws a Molotov cocktail at the police station, but accidentally burns a police officer's. The police officers learns what's in his heart and decides to help the woman find the murderer. Although the officers realized that the person they suspected was not the murderer of the woman's daughter, but they decided to follow him to save the innocent girl. In the end, they confessed what they had done in the car, and both of them were relieved. This story tells us that a mother's love is very powerful. They will always do anything for their children. We have to remember to love them well. Don't fight with them and make them sad. I am Zero Sense Film. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, comment and subscribe to my channel. See you in the next video.